Hi everybody! In this short video, I would like to give you an insight in Hormon Yoga, which already have thousands of ladies with their menstrual problem, with their PMS symptoms, with endometriosis and all other kind of woman disease, as well as anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue. After this video, you may become more motivated and more regular in your practice. So let's start with the hallmark features of women hormone yoga. First and foremost important is that we're focusing on the hip area. Why we're focusing on the hip area? Because the weakest link in the chain in our body is our hip area and pelvic floor. This is due to the menstrual cycle, and this is due to the hormonal changes which takes place each month in our body, which usually weakens this area. Also, if you have a stress, anxiety, problem in your emotional life, then it will also accumulate this stress in this area and it will weaken it as well. It's also important that according to Ayurveda, the wind energy resides in the hip and area, in the thighs and the hips. So whenever you have too much coming and going in your life, then first you will feel it in the hip joints, in the tightness of the muscles here. So it's very important that we have special attention and care in this area all the time. One of the most important things to know is the right posture of the pelvis, the right alignment of the pelvis. Usually ladies have the tendency to an anterior tilt. This is because our body, it was built like this. But if you have this posture during the day, it results in menstrual pain, lower back pain. Internal organs are more prone to prolapse, and also you will have intestine problems and you will have constipation symptoms, and you won't be able to ground well. So you have to correct this posture, and how we can do it, you just have to bring it back to a neutral position. So from an anterior tilt, you're bringing it back to a neutral position. You do this by pressing the heels, by pushing the tailbones toward the heels, and by raising the pubic bone. This is called Mula Bandha, or the root chakra. When you are grounding, you activating the back leg, you pushing with your tailbone towards the heels, and you pulling back, pulling up the pubic bone and the belly button. And you also have to do two other things. You have to press in the sacrum inside the body, and a little bit you have to push forward your psoas muscle. That's why every morning it's very important that you do a few exercises to elongate the psoas muscle, because if the psoas muscle is shortened, then you will always have an anterior tilt, which by the middle of the day it will result in lower back pain and problem with your internal organs. So first and foremost important, you have to bring back your hip area to a neutral position. Other interesting fact, how stress takes revenge in our hip area and in the body. Physiotherapy studies confirm that 70% of the ladies lost nerve connection with their buttock. This is also true for the whole body. When we are under stress all the time, then the neurotransmitters get depleted, and if you don't rest and if you are under stress all the time, then you will start to lose neuromuscular connection with different part of your body. That's why our movement gets fragmented, gets sluggish as we get older, because during our life we are enduring more and more stress. So, and this is not also, this is especially true for the women buttock. We lose nerve connection with our buttock, with our hip area, which result in a lazy hip. So the task of the buttock is transmitted to the lower back. That's why we have so much lower back pain, because usually we should walk, we should stand with the help of our buttock muscles. But when we switch off the movement, the task of the buttock, then we always using the lower back for all the motions, and the lower back doesn't like to be moved so much. The lower back is a muscle which is stable, so you should always stabilize your lower back and move with your leg and from your hip area. Now I would like to talk a few words about the correct sitting. Correct sitting is very important, especially if you have a sedentary lifestyle, because if you don't sit in a correct way, so you sit like this, usually with the lazy hips, which is not well grounded, then you not only will have a lower back problem and maybe prolapses, but you also put a lot of pressure in your abdominals, to the women organ, and it's no surprise that after why you will have a lot of menstrual problem and intestines problem. So if you want to sit correctly, it doesn't matter if you sit on the ground or on a chair. What you have to do, you have to press your sitting bones against the mat or against the chair. You have to make connection between the legs and the hip area. So you always have to bring the weight a little bit towards the leg, activating the leg or the root chakra. And you have to press the sacrum inside the body. So if you do these 3 things while you are sitting in the office, I promise you, you will have less much menstrual pain and lower back pain. And at the end of the day, you will feel yourself much better. So you have to take care first at these 3 essential points. Sitting bones, pressing towards the ground, so you ground well with your hips. You make connection between the thighs and the buttock, and a little bit you bringing the weight towards the leg. And you press the sacrum inside the body. So the sacrum can be like a cradle for the internal organs, and the internal organs are not under strain. And now let's see how women yoga affect our hormone. When you're doing, for example, twisting position and back bends, then you are working on your adrenals and also the internal organs. You're squeezing, you're refreshing the internal organs. When you're doing shoulder stand, then you're working on your thyroid, and when you're doing inversions, then you're working on your pituitary gland and on the whole endocrine system. This is also true when you're doing fine movements with attention, like slow flow, vinyasa flow, and when you're doing restorative positions. It's also a very big part of women yoga that we are doing yin positions and restorative positions. The key of the women health is that the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system should work in balance, which means that usually during the day we should use approximately 20% of our sympathetic nervous system and approximately 80% the parasympathetic nervous system. My master told me that you have to work as much as you rest. So it's a very important fact that you can maintain your hormonal health in a long time if as much you're working, as much you're resting, and you don't allow yourself to get depleted all the time. And another interesting fact is that usually the inner part of our body is the yin parts of our body. So when you start to feel that your inner parts, inner thighs, inner arms are sagging, losing muscle, then it's possible that you have a hormonal problem. And if you start asanas, and if you're paying attention to strengthen back the inner parts of your body, then you can affect beneficially your hormonal system as well. The next key question is the uterus prolapse and the internal organs dislocations. This already start to affect many ladies by the age of 30-35, but after 50 almost all the ladies suffer from this problem till a certain extent. So what you have to do is that our pelvic floor gives stability to the internal organs, and if you had pregnancy, or if you have loose connective tissues, or if you have a sedentary lifestyle, or you just don't take care of this part of your body, then very quickly you can have dislocation in your organs. And this is a problem for many reasons. So what we are doing in women yoga, we try to gain back the strength and the elasticity, not only our pelvic floor, but the whole core muscles and inside the connective tissues. So relatively your internal organs can stay fresh and they can stay at their places. And this is very, very important. It's also important because it says in the yoga philosophy that the life force is coming from our pelvic floor, from the root chakra. So that's why we need to keep this area very strong. The next focus is a relatively new concept for women, and many ladies doesn't know about it, that you should live your life, you should do your exercise, your resting, your work schedule according to your menstrual cycle. In the menstrual cycle, there is 4 phases. You have the menstrual phase, you have the follicular phase, the ovulatory phase, and the luteinizing phase. And in each phase you will feel differently, you will have a different energy level, you will crave different kind of food, and you need a different time to rest. After the menstruation, you will get more active, you can achieve more at your working place, you can lose fat easily, and this is going till the ovulation phase. In the ovulation you have the highest energy, and you can attract the best what you want in your life. After ovulation, it starts a little bit withdrawal phases, when you will want to stay home more, when you want to do household chores, and also either you get pregnant or not, your body is preparing for pregnancy. So there will be a little bit more water in your system. You will feel the need to sleep more, to eat more, and you have to allow yourself these things. If you don't allow yourself, and if you push yourself the same way as after menstruation, then you will experience PMSs, adrenal fatigue, PCOSs, insulin resistance, too much estrogen, too much testosterone. So it's very important to acknowledge that until as men they have a linear performance, or they can perform always better and better, until women have a cycle performance. So women always need to perform and after withdraw, perform and rest, perform and rest. And if you acknowledge this way how your body is working, then you will have a long life, a happy life, a healthy women life. But if you are not acknowledged, then only after a few years, usually by the mid-20s, 30s, there will be different kind of women disease you have to suffer from. Next topic I already talked about earlier is the internal organs and the intestine. In yoga philosophy, they say that you are as young and as healthy as your internal organs are. It's very important to take care of our internal organs by resting, by the right food, by meditating, and by specific asanas. So in yoga class, usually we are doing a lot of twisting and a lot of back bending to place back the internal organs to their place, a lot of forward bending, a little bit to squeeze the internal organs. So we are really rejuvenating, refreshing our internal organs and also our intestines. For many ladies, there is insufficient agni, which means digestion fire, and this is due to because they don't have strong core muscles and because they have a sedentary lifestyle. So in yoga class we also strive to make more digestion fire, because if you don't have digestion fire, then toxins can more easily accumulate in your body and in your women organs. So you have to have a strong digestion fire. And our last important focus is on grounding. Usually in the daily hustle, we lose grounding because of too much stress around us. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad stress, but because our bones are not so strong, usually we are trying to hold ourselves all day from our muscles. That's why we have the shoulders up close to the ears, and after we have a lot of shoulders and neck problems. So what you have to practice is grounding. If you are not grounding, what happens that you're accumulating all the stress here to the thyroid area and to the shoulders area, and that's why sooner or later you will have hypothyroid, because the thyroid during all day is under stress. So you have to release your thyroid muscles, bring the energy from your head and from your neck, from your shoulders back into the body, and ground yourself. In yoga class we're doing many asanas to learn to ground ourselves. So when you feel grounded and you know how to ground with your breath, with your body, then after in the daily hustle, when you encounter with stressful situation, you will be also, you will better ground, and you will have a more relaxed point of view, and after you can make better decisions. So to sum up, either you know how to practice woman yoga or not, more important that you practice it regularly. When you practice it regularly, you will feel just in a few weeks that your menstrual cycle gets organized, that you feeling more fresh, more energetic, content during the day, that you are excited about your life and about the things going on, because it raises the serotonin and the dopamine levels, the happy hormone levels. Also, you won't get depressed and anxiety so quickly, and also has a rejuvenating effect on the internal organs, on your skin, on your hair. The skin and the hair gets nicer. You will feel better in your body. It will be easier to lose weight. Your nerve will be stronger, and also it brings harmony into the bones and the joints, so you will have much lighter moving pattern and you will feel better overall in your body. Now in the link below you will find it's only one sequence, but if you practice it every second day, or only a part of it if you practice, if you don't have enough time, then just begin and you practice as much as you would like. Then you will feel after a few weeks that it has an incredible effect for the whole body. And I will have soonly an online hormone yoga program, and time by time I also do hormone yoga days when in 6-8 hours we talk about women disease, we talk about the menstruational cycle in more details, we talk about the hormones, we talk about the coincidence between the hormones, and many more things, interesting things which all ladies should know about it. So whenever you have the chance, subscribe to my channel and subscribe to the programs.